Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Radio Out of Control. So today we got the Kyosho Inferno Sport up and running, and it really inspired me to get out this one, my old Burns. Now this thing was a, it was a dream car back in the old days there. It is hammered, but you know what? It's still here, and this thing is taking a beating like you would not believe. But I want to go over just a couple of subtle differences between the two and what I went through when you buy a car that has been sitting forever and ever. I did find out that this one has been started, and the thing was the carburetor was all out of whack and everything, but that straightened itself right out real quick, and it was probably user error. I don't know if the factory would have sent this out that way. I don't think so, because every one of these things, like out of the box, are ready to roll. So this is your Inferno Sport 7.5, and this one here is the old Kyosho Burns with the GXR21, which is the racing version, and you can see the height difference is crazy here. So we'll get into that and a couple other things. So stay tuned, and here we go. Today we're going to go over old school turbo Burns to the new Kyosho Sport version. So I can already see right now that the height difference is way off. This is the lowest setting on this Burns, even though I do have an extra mount here because I was going to run a Celica body on it I bought, because this body is hammered. It is seen the weenie. It's all broken apart and everything, and but I did notice certain things about the two together. This was actually the first version of the Burns. The turbo Burns had the same engine, from what I understand, because it was a GXR21, I think is what it was, and it was an insane engine. But I bought the turbo wheels for it because this had the phone dials on it. If you guys remember what those were, they had a bunch of holes in them. They were just white wheels with holes in them. They called them the phone dials, like the Porsche. And so, anyways, when I was working on this one today, and it really inspired me to get my old Burns out. And I noticed a lot of cool different things with these. This was a competition car. It was right out of the box, race ready, and it had really cool features on it that this one don't have. Mine had a full front bumper on the thing here, and this one does not have. It's just a little, take the front wheels off. And I noticed the lengths of the control arms are different on the Sport versus the old Burns here. But let me take the body off this thing because there's no engine in it any longer, because that thing got smoked a long time ago. And if anybody knows what them old engines were worth, they were crazy money. I still got it, just worn right out. And I was going to rebuild the thing, but you can buy an aftermarket 21 race engine, comparable to that one, pretty cheap. So, but just if you look at this thing, this is funky, dirty, nasty, hammered. This thing has just hours and hours and hours on it, and I do have all the parts for it. And it's got this crazy roll cage in the back. You see a lot of scarring on it there. But I noticed under the chassis itself, if you look at it, mine don't have that much scuffing on it. It's got two little areas here that are twisted out so the control arms can extend even further when you're jumping it. And it got this, and then the old engine starter they had back in the day. So let me take the body off this one. And now this one here, like I say, I know there's not an engine in it or radio gear, but still, even at that, it would only drop it just a little bit. You know what I mean? It would make it level. But I can see the comparison of the height difference. This thing was the most well-balanced car I ever had. Like, you could get this thing in the air and it would flip. And once it was going backwards, you could just tap the brake and it would bring the nose right down again. And if it was going nose in, you just tap the throttle and it would come right back up again. So, let's look at this one here now. Now, this one I did get running today. I did take it for a little blast. I don't think the guy really cared about the tires on the thing because I wanted to save them for him. But but I noticed, you know, this one has the side pans, really long control arms compared to these control arms here. If you look at the control arm differences, this one here, the Sport, is actually wider than the old Burns. It's got a lot more width to it. It's probably a 1/4 of an inch wider at each tire. Mine has a lot of plastic components in here for the servos. This is all aluminum mounted down to the chassis, and when you look underneath it, yes, I put a scratch on it. I put a scratch on the thing today. I was bummed. You know, if you look underneath it, the back don't have those wings. They got stops for the center of the control arms here so they don't overextend. All the screws on the thing are countersunk in here, and it's still got the old starter, you know, thing, option there, whatever. But I was going to actually raise the wheel, or raise the height of this thing, because, you know, just when it takes off, it does this. You know, it actually, you know, when you hammer these things, they actually wind up and pull the fronts up, kind of off to the side a little bit, and they do twist a lot. And when you let off and everything, it drops right down to the nose, and that's what made the scrape. You know, because I can bottom this out just by touching it, and the brake does the same thing. But so far, this thing was like, it's amazing. The only problem I had with this car today was a carburetor setting. That was it. So once I set the carb, I ran 2.5, 3 tanks. I ran 3 tanks through this thing, 2.5, 3 tanks, and just kind of let it idle. And on the 3rd tank, you know, I give it some stabs of the throttle and all that stuff. And as it went on, I had to keep playing with the carburetor. When I first tried to start, it would not start whatsoever because the carburetor was just, you know, it was just so far out of whack. But now, put the glow plug igniter on it, 2 pulls, this thing fires right up. So, which is kind of nice to see that the tradition of these old cars are still going on today. Now, in China, you can buy, even cheaper than these Japanese cars, you can buy a version of this car. And I wouldn't say that it's going to be the quality of these, because Kyosho has had, I guess, a name for themselves that they had worked hard for, you know. And to make this car the Infar World Champion over and over and over and over again, you know, they deserve their due, you know. So now that I seen this one here, how nice and clean it was and all that stuff, you know, brand new out of the box, I said, you know what, now I gotta restore the old Betsy over here, you know. And so I don't know if I'll be able to find a body for it or not, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna have to try to find my old wheels and tires. I know there's actually no nubs on whatsoever. They were pretty much bald, but you know, I mean, this thing, I bet you we ran at least 20 gallons of fuel through this car alone. Every weekend we were taking this thing out, having a blast with it. So, you know, like I say, it's went through rolling changes over the years. I actually made a plate here, as you can see, to lengthen the wheelbase of this thing, because I was going to put it on a different body. And then at one other point in time, I had come up with the idea of taking it apart and using the front and rear differentials on this and putting them underneath one of my bruisers. And because I had a bruiser with a 25 Super Tiger in it, and I had this, and the bruiser was just as fast as this was on a, you know, a drop flag drag race. They would cross the finish line at the same exact time. And I always wanted to take this indestructible. Now this stuff here, I'm talking, this stuff has been around since the late 80s, and there's nothing wrong with these center differentials or nothing. Like the gearing, everything's all original on this car. You know, I mean, I got the drive shafts, I got everything, and there's very little wear. So, you know, back then the cars are crazy money, but you know what? You got your money's worth. And here it is, 2022, and I'm still rocking this thing. You know what I mean? I was gonna put an electric conversion in here because I did buy one of those. I think they were, what was it? Hot Racing. I think they made I bought one. It was it basically mounts where your nitro motor is, and it has a gearbox on the back, and with a shaft that runs through that comes right to here, and you put yourself your whatever brushless motor you want on there, and your own speed control. I was going to do that. I still might do that to this one, but you know me, I love the nitro, man. I love the, you know, you gotta get that, you know, that smell. You gotta get that feeling, you know, and you know, get the adrenaline pumping a little bit. That's what you need. So, but I'm going to continue working on this one here. I got the thing up and running, and it was a breeze. No big deal. One thing about an old Kyosho car, other than the Nitro Brute, the Nitro Brute was probably the biggest disaster they ever had. You know, if you take your, you know, comparisons of the Nitro cars, I have a lot of Kyosho cars, and like, you know, a lot of early ones, and they still perform just like they did out of the box, you know, back in the day. So, but anyways, guys, like, share, subscribe if you want. I want to give you a quick update on this. I'm still working on the Camaro, and my upload, I'm going to upload the other video I did yesterday because I'm way behind on the Camaro hood hinges. You know, so that's the Toyin Howen V8 build. So, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you later, man. Adios.